Was that okay?
Jay Shetty, thank you so much for joining us today. I'm not a professional like you are at this, and I'm sure everyone watching this is as excited as I am.
Well, first of all, Deepika, I just want to say how happy I am to be with you right now. I'm so grateful that we're getting to do this together and connecting. And it's always a joy whenever we're getting to speak. And when you asked me to come here and speak about one of our favorite topics, I couldn't say no.
I wanted to start by asking, what does self-care mean to you?
Self-care to me means so many things. And I think for a long time, it felt like just taking care of the body, relaxing, sleeping well. But now self-care means taking care of myself physically, mentally, emotionally, and spiritually, because these are all myself. And so self-care is this beautiful subject matter that goes from the outside in and inside out, and it's deeply important to me.
What are some of your self-care rituals? Do you manage to practice them every day? And if you can share some of your self-care rituals with us.
Starting from the physical, I really believe it's so important to have movement every day. I think a lot of people think it has to be the gym or it has to be intense. To me, one of my favorite things is going on a hike, which is very common in LA where I live. And so it's really easy for 30 minutes and then it's really hard for 30 minutes of incline. And I love the idea of moving, sweating, being active, having fresh air, being in nature. I find that to be really energizing. And so that's my physical ritual for self-care that I do pretty much 5 days a week. Then my mental practice for self-care is meditation. I know we've talked about this, we've meditated before together. And meditation for me is about finding that stillness within. I find that there's so much chaos, so many notifications, so much news, so much negativity, so much noise. There's so much happening outside of ourselves. And I find that if I can just find some stillness, then that can make a huge difference. Now for emotional, one of my rituals I'm gonna add, which people may not realize, is actually what I eat. I find that what we eat is a huge part of how we feel and how we operate throughout the day. What we eat affects our mood. I've learned a lot about this through my wife, Radhi, who's taught me all about how different herbs and different spices can affect us. And my deepest habit for myself is deep relationships. I think having vulnerable, open conversations, having a friend that you can open your heart to, speak your mind to, that's also a practice of self-care that I think we often miss out on or forget about.
You know, I feel like women often feel a lot of guilt when you take time out for yourself and practice different rituals, because I think we're so conditioned to always put other people before ourselves. Do men experience the same thing? Do men experience guilt as well?
What that guilt made me do was I was overextending myself for others, thinking that I was helping them. And then what would happen is I would get sick, I would be exhausted, I would be tired. And now I was helping them from a place of pain and struggle and stress, rather than helping them from a place of love and joy and kindness. And I think that's the question we have to ask ourselves, that we want to help people. We want to help people we love with the best of ourselves. And often when we're tired, we're just giving them our leftovers. And I don't think you want to give the people you love your leftovers. You want to give them the best of your heart. If I'm in a better state of mind, if I have more energy, I'll actually be able to give more to someone I love rather than be, really pushing myself and stressing myself out to give to them.
Do you believe that when you take care of yourself, it borders on being indulgent?
Internally, if I really get into the male psychology, it can be really tough as someone who's trying to portray themselves as strong and masculine, and then all of a sudden you're taking care of your skin and your face and your grooming and everything else that comes with it. And if I'm completely honest, I think we have to realize that you're not doing it for someone else, right? You're not doing it so that you appear in a certain way to anyone else. You're doing it because you've been gifted with this layer of skin. You've been gifted with your health. You've been gifted with your wellness, and taking care of it and maintaining it is not indulgent at all. I mean, you know, I think with the self-care rituals that we're talking about today, they don't require you to go to some place or learn something new, or you don't have to, you know, do something extravagant. I think the idea that you've been gifted with something and you want to take care of it is not indulgent at all. And so anyone who in their mind is thinking, oh my gosh, this is excessive or this is over the top, I actually think as you get older, as we've both been talking about, you start to realize, I wish I started 5 years ago. And I think that's how everyone will feel when it comes to self-care. When you start, you'll always feel, I wish I knew about this 10 years ago. I wish I knew about this 20 years ago. I think about it. My dad used to tell me about some of these things when I was in my 20s, and I'd be like, oh, dad, whatever. Like, I don't need to listen to you. And now that I'm in my mid 30s, I'm thinking, gosh, he was so right. And so I think, you know, I really think you're always going to feel you started a year ago, so it's better to start right now. Now, the reason I take care of myself is so that I can help others. I think often people think, well, if I'm taking care of myself, I'm not helping others. And if I'm helping others, I don't have time to take care of myself. And what I've realized is actually, I'm taking care of myself so that I can extend myself to anyone else in the world. And if you do it with that intention and that reason, all of a sudden, even when you're taking care of yourself, you know this is just recharging you so you can support other people.
Does skincare form a part of your self-care ritual?
You know what? Having been raised very strongly by my mom introduced me to very basic skincare as a child. And it was just moisturizer. It wasn't fancy, but for some reason, I found that simple moisturizer I used as a kid really set me up. And now as I'm getting older, I'm starting to realize that I need to do a better job taking care of my skin. And every time I see your skin, I'm like, yes, I need to have skin like that. So you need to send me some stuff. I need to use it.
You're actually doing everything right. You're probably missing a sunscreen if that's something you've not added into your routine. And finally, what is the one message that you would like to say to all of the men out there who are probably now going to start their self-care journey after listening to this interview?
My biggest advice would be try and start small, start simple, start where it's easy. You don't have to add 4 products. You don't have to start doing everything in the world. I think start easy, start simple, make it really natural for yourself. And when you observe the benefits and the rewards, you'll get the momentum to want to do more. So start small, start simple, start easy. Don't make everything complicated. You've always done it. And now with your beautiful company and your beautiful brand, you're really taking it further. And it's so wonderful to see because you've made something that can be quite intangible into something quite accessible. And I think that's really what we're trying to do, right? When these practices sit in your head, you don't often feel them, but when you are putting them on your skin and you're feeling their benefit and you're feeling the after effect, that's when it starts to feel tangible and real, and you do feel fresh and you do feel better. And so thank you for always leading on this movement and mission, and thank you for being such a torch bearer and light holder. And we're all trying to follow in your footsteps, so happy to be a part of it.
No. Yeah, I know. I think like you said, self-care doesn't have to be, they're not grand, they're not big, they're not large, they're not complex, they're not overwhelming. Self-care rituals, whether it's skincare, whether it's hydration, whether it's exercise, movement, sleep, nutrition, they're all things that we do every day. I think just being able to do it consistently in small, simple ways, and like you said, your advice was start small. Also practice it with mindfulness. I
think we have to be happy that we get to take care of ourselves, as opposed to, like you just said, I don't have to do this, I'm happy to do this. Like how lucky am I that I get to take care of myself, and how fortunate am I that I'm aware of these things, because it is a benefit, it is a privilege, and it is something that we can get enthusiastic about. And I fully agree with you. I remember back in the day when I was taking care of myself and I was like, oh God, I gotta work out today and I've gotta do this today. And that mentality just sets you up for failure, rather than I'm so happy I get to do this. I'm so lucky I get to do this.
Jay, thank you so much for this conversation. And I hope that everyone watching has learned something very, very productive, useful, whether it's a post, whether it's something you say. I've always learned so much from you, and just kicking off our self-care for men journey with you we couldn't have asked for more. Thank you for your time, for your energy. We love you and see you very, very soon.
Well, the feeling is so mutual. I'm so glad, as I said before, you're really leading in this space, and your vulnerability, whether it's in an interview, whether it's personally, your openness to have these very uncomfortable, difficult conversations takes so much courage. And I see you as someone who's so bold and so courageous in everything you do. And the fact that you're using your platform and your influence to shine a light on male self-care, on self-care as a whole, I think it's absolutely astounding, and I applaud you for it, and I'm always by your side and have your back all the way. So anything I can do to support you, always here, and very grateful to be a part of your journey.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Deepika.